Now in this lecture, let's try to describe an put operation or an put API using OpenAPI specification. So like you know, we can use HTTP put operation or HTTP put method whenever we want to update an existing data. So the scenario that we are trying to address with the help of put API is, maybe think of a scenario like once an order has been placed, my end user want to change the order. Maybe he want to change the address, or maybe he want to remove one of the product from the order, or maybe he want to change the quantity of the products inside the order. So the scenario can be anything. So to accommodate this, my Easy Shop application should have an orders API which accepts the HTTP put method so that my consumers can invoke this API based upon the actions that my end user is doing in their website. So for the same, inside this lecture, let's try to introduce a new API that supports put operation. So like you can see here, total we have 5 APIs. So let me scroll this Swagger UI to the right hand side. So here we have a post operation API, and I have a question here for you, like, do we really need another API path supporting put operation? So the answer is no. The reason is we can reuse the same API path, but instead of post, what we can do is we can mention the put operation and we can describe the request structure, response structure, everything together. So for the same, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy the content that I have under orders API. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the same content one more time under orders API. So now here instead of post, we have to put it as put. Otherwise, my OpenAPI specification will not allow, because using one API path, we can define only once for each HTTP method. So here I'm describing the operation details for the post operation. So very similarly, I have here for put operation. So for put operation, the summary can be update order. The description also we can update something like update order details to Easy Shop for processing and shipping. So now definitely even the put operation also will expect a request. So that's why we need to mention this request body here, and under request body content application JSON schema as type object. So everything is going to be very similar to what we have discussed for post operation. But here we need one more extra column or an extra data inside the put operation. So this is just a question for you. Can you tell me what is that extra field that we need to pass inside the put compared to post? So your time starts now. 1, 2, 3. Yes, you are correct. We need to pass the order ID also, because without order ID, my Easy Shop cannot update the existing order details. So as of now, inside our request body, there is no order ID. We just have product ID details and there is no order ID. And this order ID, if you can recall, inside our post API, it will come as an response data. So the same order ID my consumers has to pass again whenever they want to update the order details. So now what I have to do here is, so if you look at the request body of my put operation, so my overall schema type is object. Under the properties, I have a products array and I have an address. So just above products array, I also expect one more new property, which is order ID. And this order ID type is integer. So with this, we should be good for the request body structure. Now, if you go to the response, whenever we are dealing with the HTTP put operations, the response ideally we can send is 200. So 200 indicates that the request has been processed successfully. So the description can be order details updated successfully. So now here we don't have to send any content, we can just remove this. The reason is the order ID details already known to my consumer, so we don't have to repeat the same. So that's why I'm just removing this entire content under the response. So now my response will only have 200 and some status description saying that order details updated successfully. So now with this, we have successfully implemented put API also under orders path. So let me close this post API description. So under orders, you can see we have both post and put. So now let's try to see how this is looking like inside the Swagger UI. So for put, you can see it is coming in orange color. So that kind of color difference is there for each HTTP GET methods. Like all GET will have blue, post will have green, and put has some orange color. So now if I click on this put orders link that I have, you should be able to see there are no parameters, but coming to request body, this is how it is going to look like. The very first element or property inside my request body is what is the order ID, and after the order ID we can expect the array of products with the property name products and address details. Like in the scenario, if someone want to change address details, I'll get the latest address details, and I can also consider the latest product details that I'm getting inside this products array to process and shipping them. Like in the post request, I may get 2 product details. Now in the put request, I may get only 1 order details. That means one of the product has been cancelled. So that's how I can interpret inside my backend logic. And you can also confirm the same structure inside the schema. Like the very first property is order ID of type integer, products is an array of type product object, and under address we have all these properties. Now coming to the response, for the 200 response, you can see there won't be any response body or data. It's just that they are going to get a code of 200 and a status description saying that order details updated successfully. So now my consumer know like clearly, okay, whenever I'm making an HTTP put operation for this orders API, I should not expect anything inside the response. I will just look for the response code, which is 200. If I receive 200 as a response code, then that means my order details are updated successfully at the back end of the Easy Shop. So with this, we also described put API with the help of OpenAPI specification. In the next lecture, let's try to describe and delete API operation as well. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next lecture. Bye.